Begin Podfix Network transmission. In 3, 2, 1.
Fly fishing in a stream, getting those ankles wet, or deep in the ocean, casting nets. Fish nerds. Fish nerds. Fish nerds. It's a podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Fish Nerds, the show about fish, fishing, and eating fish. I'm Clay Groves, Chief Executive Fish Nerd, licensed fishing guide, and your best friend. With me, as always, is the beautiful Crappie Hippie. Hey, Crappie Hippie.
Good morning, Clay Groves. How you doing this morning, my friend?
I'm fine.
Hanging on by his fingernails, but he's fine, baby.
You know,
right.
we're finally on winter. Winter's finally gotten here. It's almost March. And the ice is finally safe to fish on. I've finally got lots of clients who want to go fishing. Plus, I'm working a handful of other jobs. So I'm tired. But tired, it's a good tired, John, to earned tired.
It's a well-earned tired. I'm more of the exhausted by the details. You know, the expression, the devil is in the details.
Yep.
Cancellations, this, that, and the other thing. Like example, back in November, Kathy was attacked by a herd of white-tailed deer on her way home.
Oh, please tell me this.
Back in November.
Yes, tell me the story.
Well, you know how these, deer, they look at those headlights, they can't tell how far away they are.
Mm-hmm.
And these deer, about 8 of them, started across this little highway that she comes down, and 56 highway. And man, all of a sudden they were just on her, and 3 of them ran smack into the side of the car.
Oh,
I mean,
man, and the deer probably survived, but the car got damaged pretty good.
It got jacked up something awful. And she, of course, was traumatized because she loves deer. She's a sensitive person. And she was like, oh, their eyes, their faces. I was just like, yeah, well, honey, I don't know what to tell you, except, I'm glad you're okay. That's all I could say.
I used to
ahead,
talk to a scientist. His name was Dr. Splat. He studied roadkill to figure out animal migrations. And he had a theory that animal roadkill would now be thought of as an evolutionary factor, because road cars have been around long enough where animals have figured out what to do. So he says animals that get hit by a car, they kind of want it. So it's like,
well,
that was
I
his
don't know
theory.
if I could go along with that.
I'm not sure. That's him, not me. Don't yell at me, man.
I'm not gonna yell at you. I do know that they will use passageways if they're provided. There are bridges and underpasses that people have dug when they have a distinct trail, a distinct way to connect habitats, and that these animals will figure out, hey, if I go through this culvert, or over this little bridge, then I'll be able to get across without running into those crazy animals with the bright lights and the brown feet.
Well, anyway, let's get back to what happened with Kathy's.
Well, so it's the body shop thing. This big guy at the body shop just kind of straightened out her door enough that she could get it open and shut. So we drove around in a wrecked car for a month, and then they got it, and it took them, over a month to fix it, which I understand with getting all the parts and this and that. And they just found, in fact, we were supposed to get it back yesterday, but they found a cracked radiator frame support. So glad they found that, because I intend to drive it a long way here before too long. And so, another cancellation, another change gears, get a new direction. I'm supposed to get it back on Friday now, but got to go tomorrow because our insurance won't pay for the rental car anymore. Jerks. And but the body shop has a loaner, and they'll help us out. So it's just one of those things. It's that kind of busy, that kind of exhaustion, cancellations, redo, change gears, this, that. Yeah, so not as satisfying as saying, when I get these 2 huge orders done, that's when I will have the satisfactory sense of satisfaction tired.
Well,
like you're talking about.
Well, let's be excited about the sense of satisfaction of making a podcast today.
Let's do it.
Give us the content today. What are we talking about today? We got fish in the news. We got Tim Beat. What else is happening?
We've got fish in the news. We've got a story from our South Australian correspondent, Luke Chalmings. We got a great story from Tim Tacklebox Beat. And, I've got this picture of Tim here on my desk. I've got it hooked up, and I put a couple of little LED lights inside the picture inside his eyeballs.
Yeah.
And they're starting to flash. And that means that we have a new feature for us on Fish Nerds, the Tim Tacklebox Beat Tackle Review. So let's take a few minutes right now and let Tim tell us about what new tackle he's excited about.
The line between scientific genius and obsessive fanaticism is a thin one.
I'm Tim Tacklebox Beat here with Lucy, the Lure-matic computer, who is clearly a scientific genius.
Thanks, Tim. I guess that makes you the obsessive fanatic.
You got that right. But Lucy, together we're either scientific fanatics or maybe we're obsessive geniuses.
Excellent point.
We have a 5-minute tackle innovation to share, a fishing product that really works, so you don't have to make the mistake of buying something that fails on the water.
We make the mistakes for you. Or at least Tim does. We look at about 50 products for every one that we find worthy of listeners. So what do we have to share today, Tim?
Lucy, today we're looking at Beat Jigs.
Beat? Like in Tim, Tacklebox Beat?
Nope. Beat is spelled B-E-E-T, and it stands for Big Eye Easy Tie. They're not talking about the painted eye in the jig, but rather the eye to which you tie your line. Their jig eyes are 40% larger than standard jigs, so the jigs are easier to tie for people with sight issues or dexterity issues, or even cold hands.
Are those problems common?
Absolutely. For example, if you're fishing at dawn and have poor light, it can be a bear to tie on a new jig.
What does a bear have to do with a jig?
It's just an expression, Lucy. To be a bear is to be difficult.
If it means something difficult, I'd say it can be a human to tie on a new jig.
A human?
Yes. I can understand everything except humans. Very difficult species. You are always acting irrationally, especially when you get around new fishing tackle.
Good point. But let's get back to the beat jigs. My favorite knot to tie in a jig is the Palomar knot. It requires you to fold over your line and push the folded part through the lure eye. With a small jig, I can just never do it, so I have to put the end of the line through the eye and then feed it back through the opposite way to accomplish it. With these jigs, though, I have no trouble tying a Palomar knot the correct way. I like the size choices too. Their painted jig heads come in 1/8 ounce and 1/16 ounce, and their unpainted jig heads come in 1/8, 1/16, and 1/32 ounce sizes. The only downside to these jigs is they're made of lead, and I really prefer non-lead options.
Lead-free is the way to be.
Very true, but I love the innovative idea of larger eyes to help more people fish, and I give that innovation 4 out of 5 golden tackle boxes. Lucy, tell the listeners where they can learn more about Beat Jigs.
Beat Jigs is located in Union, Missouri. They have a Facebook page and also a website where you can buy their jigs. The website is beatjigs.square.site. They sell 10, 25, and 100 packs of their jigs.
Thanks, Lucy. Now off to search for more fishing tackle innovations.
Well, do you think you might want to try out those jig heads with those bigger eyes, help you tie on, help you see what you're doing?
As I get older, John, that stuff that appeals to me more and more.
I hear you. I totally hear it.
I was on the ice fishing the other day with a 6-year-old, and it was 5 degrees out. It's windy. My hands are white with cold, and I'm trying to, a pickerel bit the tiny jig we're using off, and I'm trying to string this 2-pound test through this tiny hole in my jig. It must take me 10 minutes to tie a knot because I couldn't get the hole through that stupid thing. So I'm in. I'm sold.
I am sold.
Yeah, I want like 2-inch circles. That's how big I want.
Yes, 2-inch circles.
I want 2-inch eyelets, John. I can't anymore. And I'm stubborn, John. I should go buy some readers, $1.50. But I'm stubborn. I haven't done it yet.
Well, that's just it. It is a stubbornness, and it's, I'm going to find a way to get this done. Gosh darn it. But anyway, pretty cool idea. They're nice, sharp sickle hooks, real good for the pan fishing, or, a lot of bass guys are using them too. Anytime you're fishing with a fish that has some web to its mouth, whether it's a walleye, yellow perch, bluegill, crappie, bass, people are using the sickle hooks on them. So it's pretty cool, pretty cool. But that's our latest tackle news. Are we ready to go into some fish news, Mr. Grove?
I am. It's the green button. No, it's the orange button.
Come on now, everybody loves fish in the news.
Everybody loves their fish in the news.
All right.
Okay,
John.
now everybody loves fish in the news, but let me tell you something. If you're eating something, if it's lunchtime, dinner time, breakfast time, whatever it is for you, and you happen to be listening to this, don't start eating or put what you're eating down over here, or maybe go past this story and come back later. Something like that.
It's a good story, John.
It's a great story.
I covered this. I do real news as my day job. I do real reporting. I reported the story, so it's a great story.
It is a great story sent in by our own Tim Tacklebox Beat. And the headline is Delta Flight turns around because of maggots. Yeah. So
before you read the story, just visualize this, John. You're sitting in your seat. The flight just takes off. You're relaxing. You got your book. You got your peanuts, your little half a cup of Coke with 2 giant ice cubes in it. And all of a sudden, maggots rain down on you. That's the story you're about to tell.
That is the story I am about to tell.
Yep, tell it.
And okay. Airline passengers are always on guard, it says, and it is true. There's all kinds of things that happen on airplanes, flight disruptions. Well, on this Delta flight from Amsterdam, this poor lady got the negative surprise of her life. The plane takes off, everybody's getting groovy, they're sitting back, the light goes off, everybody can relax, and the next thing you know, she's got maggots dropping on her all over the place. At first, she didn't even know it.
Oh, how would you notice?
And then,
yeah,
and these people around her are like, "Oh my gosh!" And the next, and then the next thing you know, she is absolutely losing it.
Well, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, no, I'd be losing it because I'd be like, somebody give me a cup or something. I'm going ice fishing. So
right. I
need
got bait.
I got bait.
I did think that. I did think that for a second. But John, if you're fishing maggots, you buy them at the bait shop. They don't stink. They're packed in sawdust. They're not big deal. These were gross.
Yeah, these are meat maggots. These are terrible. And what the deal was, this is crazy. Okay, it's crazy. But some dude had a fish wrapped in newspaper in his carry-on.
Yep.
And it spoiled. And I mean, it must have been pretty spoiled already.
Yeah, before it didn't spoil on the plane, John.
Right. Yeah. Obviously not. So, I'm beginning to wonder there,
Yeah.
My wife hates me. She put a fish in my luggage, a month ago or whatever. I don't know, I don't know. But what cracked me up about the article was that, the flight attendants, they're trying to get a line on this. And, they basically have to be like, okay, whose bag is this? And they finally get this guy to confess.
I would not. Nope. I have no idea.
I don't know, man.
Not my bag. Yep. Nope. That's someone else. It's the guy up in the front of the plane, guy in first class. Put it back here.
I mean, and clearly he didn't put it over his chair, his seat, which is, I'm just like, what's up with that? And, but anyway, yeah, it was some sort of fish, and the bag was removed to the back of the plane and contained. And then the plane had to turn around and go back to Amsterdam because infestation of any kind is a reason to turn a plane around, which makes perfect sense to me.
Right. It's too bad they weren't on JetBlue. They could just thrown out the empty door. Just doors open already. Just toss it. It's no problem.
Nah, it was actually Alaskan Airlines.
Or whatever.
It's still funny. Yeah.
Details, John.
Yeah. Good. So added an extra, time, and then they had to give the passengers some lunch money and some bucks. But they got them where they're going. And
here's the question, and I didn't find this in my article I read. I've read different versions of this. What happened to the dude who brought the rotten fish on it? Was he liable in any way, or they just like go, oh well, clean the plane, get back on it?
Yeah, they just said they questioned him briefly.
Mm-hmm. Is that your fish? Yep. Why's it dead? They don't live very long in paper.
Yeah. I was just like, how's your marriage? Or, who was the last person that had contact with this bag or any of it? I don't know. Because it seems like a prank or something, But if the guy was like, well, that was going to be my lunch. Mm-hmm. I'd be like, maybe we need someone professional to talk to this person. And then, of course, I love journalism, especially TV journalism, because over-reporting and putting in the obvious is what they do.
Well, you have
Guess
to.
what they did with the carry-on bag, Clay?
What'd they do?
Destroyed it.
Well, I would too.
I didn't want it back no more. I just like, what?
That's the right answer, John. There's nothing else to do with it. You're never getting that smell out.
You aren't. No. Never. I don't care what you put in there.
You'll
so
never
anyway,
pick all those maggots out by hand.
oh gosh, must we go on? But anyway, there's your fish in the news.
Well, that's good news, John. I appreciate
keep
it.
an
Nice,
eye- keep-
feel good story right there.
Well, it was in a way because so many people came to her aid and were just mildly outraged, not violently so, but like, who the hell did this?
Right.
And help this lady get her nice clothes cleaned off and help her enjoy her trip. So,
Well, it's good they were
maggots,
coming.
bring us all together.
It's good they were coming from Amsterdam and not like New York, because they're coming over a place of happiness, and they're all stoned and like, oh man, all right, what a bummer, party foul.
All right.
All right, moving on.
Well, let's move on. All right. Now, here we go. We love these kind of stories right here. This is a true fish crime type thing. You know me. This is the kind of thing that really boils over my oatmeal. Kansas crappie record revoked. We first reported this. Yeah, we first reported this on Fish Nerds episode 313. Bobby Parkhurst claimed that he caught this 4.7 pound crappie, or 07 anyway. It doesn't really matter because Bobby is a cheater.
Oh,
And
Bobby.
somebody decided couldn't handle it anymore and called KDWP, Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks, and said, I saw Bobby weigh that at the local shop. When you get out that way towards central Kansas, there's a lot of convenience stores that are kind of everything stores. They got little delis in them and the whole bit. So I maybe weighed it there. I don't know where he weighed it, but somebody was witness, and it came in at 3.73, which is one heck of a crappie. But Bobby couldn't be happy with that. He wanted the record, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. So he went home and found a couple of steel ball bearings, and dropped them right into that fish, and then took it to the official scales at KDWP and had it certified. And because we're kind of, I don't know, I want to say easygoing, but Kansans like to trust people. I mean, I think most people do.
Right.
A person's integrity is assumed. And so, but in this case, it came down to the fact that he got turned in. And Bobby is kind of a shady character. He's had 5 felony busts since 2019. And currently just got convicted of felony ID theft. So, I'm thinking Bobby was like, oh, I'm going to get famous. I'm going to make some money off this fish. Maybe Bass Pro will buy the mount from me, blah, 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 because he still had it in the freezer.
Wow.
Agent from KDWP came, said, Bobby, we need to see that fish again. Do you still have it? And he's like, oh, yeah. And he let him look at it, and they x-rayed it. And boy, you get, this is on Wired to Fish news feed. Great news feed if you like fish news. And you can see just normal fish skeletal stuff and 2 balls, just 2 opaque balls right in the middle of that x-ray. So
it's a male.
Oh my goodness, man. Those would be some heavy duty gonads for a fish, but joke appreciated. So but anyway, there you go.
So I want to like be surprised that he's stupid, but I'm not surprised. Here's the right answer, John. First of all, don't cheat on these things. And I think we ought to move away from weight as a means of measuring fish anyway, as far as these contests go. Then you can eliminate cheating altogether. You could do girth and length and eliminate that whole weight problem to begin with. It's easy enough, and maybe kill less fish. But the other thing you could do is, if you do cheat on these things, and after you get your prize, destroy the fish.
I know.
You just eat it. It doesn't matter. It's gone. And then you don't get busted. Like, did you do it? Nope. Can I see the fish? Nope. Okay, that's it. There's no evidence anymore. Some guy said he saw you. Yeah, that guy wanted to win the contest. He didn't win. He lied. So then you don't have any evidence.
Exactly.
You
and
moron. Do you have a fish? Yeah. Not. Do you have a fish? Well, do you have a warrant? Like, still good.
Probable cause.
Yeah.
Well, they did have a witness and some information, and so they did have probable cause. But the thing is, but the problem here is that Bobby wanted some fame and this and that out of it, and that always seems to be the basis for this cheating. But it's like I've seen so many of these people go completely overboard, and this is what really hurts down deep. Is that wow the recent walleye thing? I mean, you've seen how many weights they threw down those walleyes.
Well,
Like
yeah.
this walleye, looks like it should weigh 1.5 pounds, and somehow it's weighing 3 pounds. You're getting out of control with
Right.
how much stuff you're throwing in there.
So, John, when you cheat at these tournaments, how do you do it?
Me, I don't fish tournaments, and I don't cheat at nothing. But what really hurts is that people, they don't want to accuse people of this.
Right.
They don't want to have this be the climate around. It's a geeky thing. It's not just an ego thing. It's a geeky
Well,
thing.
here's why
helpful to scientists.
And here's why it's bad for the contest as a nation, like overall, because your local fish tournaments don't make national news. But someone cheats at a local tournament, it makes national news. Mostly tournaments are raising money for nonprofits and doing good things. And so it does is it gives a sour taste to fishing tournaments.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It makes everyone else look bad. And I'm with you. I don't fish a lot of tournaments. But, man, I'm telling you, we need to move away from these catch and kill tournaments, and we can solve this whole problem.
Well, yeah, the tournaments and then the record keeping.
Yeah.
And then they are working that way because there's a lot of you can get, patches and non-lethal.
Yeah, New Hampshire has a catch and release program.
Exactly.
In fact, I have clients. I took ice fishing the other day. They're Mike Moreau and his family. They've been coming up now for 6 years every winter, one fishing trip a year. And this year, their goal was one of them wanted to says, I want to earn a New Hampshire trophy patch. So we went after pumpkin seeds. And there were 6 of them in the crew. All 6 earned a New Hampshire trophy patch for pumpkin seeds. Every single one of them got a trophy pumpkin seed. Incidentally, a trophy pumpkin seed in New Hampshire is the easiest patch to get because an 8-inch pumpkin seed's not that big. And that's the requirement for it. But the state record's only a little over 10 inches.
Right.
Yeah, our friend
and
Mike
it'd be
Steffen
over
used to
11
have
inches
that
if your niece was
That's
part
right.
of this, but
That's
she
right.
refused to kill the fish.
She didn't want to kill it. So
Good for her.
But anyway, so all my clients got a trophy patch this week.
That's awesome.
So, and that's exciting for them. Like they were so happy with catching a couple of pumpkin seed. I mean, they were just look at all these fish. They were just thrilled. And then they kept a mess of yellow perch for dinner. So.
Wow. No wonder they book with you all the time. That sounds like just a wonderful day, a wonderful memory you'll have all your life. That's pretty darn fun, Clay.
Yeah,
you're a fun maker. You're a memory maker.
That's my job. Handle the part of the ice fishing that sucks. Carrying gear, setting up stuff, drilling holes. All you gotta do is show up and catch the fish, get your photo, and leave. That's
That's it.
That ain't bad. I need to hire a guide. That's
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm the one whose auger breaks. I'm not. I lose $300 a week on trips.
Oh my! Oh, look out! Look out! I'm tempted to veer off down a lane.
Can you tell he ordered a new auger this week?
Yeah, I can tell. I'm picking it up.
Yeah.
And I've priced those things, and that's one thing I don't own for the 1 or 2 days of maybe ice
Chisel,
fishing we
man,
might
chisel.
get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you ready to do something real sciencey?
More news?
More news. I got a couple more.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right. How about some new fossil evidence that's filling in this crazy picture of how fish evolved and how they evolved to come out on land and all this kind of stuff. Well, Haragicadectes is a fish with nostrils that they have had this skeleton. They got it put together good enough finally that they could see what the fish is like. And the size of its nostrils is the biggest that they found so far. And it's the most ancient like they found so far. So the point here is this transition from water to land. Lungs came before legs. That much they're pretty sure is how it went.
That makes sense.
It makes total sense. And this fish has the bigger nostrils. There's other examples of fish with nostrils, but they're trying to get everything in a timeline because that's part of ancient paleontological history. Is that how I ought to say that, Clay?
I'll take it.
You'll take it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking at when did cartilaginous fish come along? When did bony fish come along? When did lungfish come along? When did fish that walked on shore, like walking catfish and such, come along? There's the fish, that ticka, whatever the fish they found up at the Arctic Circle.
Right.
And got some great sculptures of it at the University of Chicago, where it's clearly being supported by these fins, almost like their legs, and then we heard, reverse evolution where, the oceans that were receding are starting to grow again. So some animals reverse evolved to go back into the water.
Well, yeah.
And got rid of their legs and so forth. And just like we see lizards that have lost their limbs, or snakes that have vestigial limbs, we also see this in fish where like gar will gulp air.
Right.
We've got all the lungfish we're talking about. But anyway, the Haragicadectes.
Wow. John, hang on, say it again.
Haragicadectes.
Calm down. He's just reading a word. Calm down. It's not that big a deal.
It is an Australian discovery, and we've got a kind of a little Australian thread running through here. So I just had to do this because I thought it was cooler than ever.
It is super cool. We'll put a link in the show notes. You can see a picture of this. It's wild.
Great pictures and stuff. You know what? Speaking of Australia, Clay.
Yes.
It's summer down there. Did you know that?
Yes, I did.
Because down on the other end of this fine world, when we're freezing up here, our friend Luke is down in South Australia, which is one of the hotter, drier places in Australia. Actually considered by some the outback of Australia. The winter time is in our summertime, and summer is now. And we reported last time we had Luke on the show, he was talking about some floods, and that was some spring type stuff.
Seems like it always floods there.
But well, the thing is, and I don't know if this is climate change related or not, but they're having some summer heavy rain, which they are not at all used to. And yeah, it's the classic, this is a place with a lot of desert and such. And so there's a lot of flash flooding, a lot of flooding going on. And you can get on here and you can see that these floods are really, really kind of a problem for them. But, at a time where they're just not expecting it. But on the other hand, all right, Clay.
Ready.
I'm learning all this stuff, right?
Yep.
This is called a segue.
All right, segue away.
Segue away.
Yeah.
Let's get out of fish in the news, because these Australia floods are adding some information to our set of learning about Australia. And we know that floods are good for rivers, and they are good for cleaning things up and replenishing the lands around the rivers. And guess what? Let's get out of this fish in the news and go talk to Luke.
News, fish in the news. Everybody loves their fish in the news.
All right, let's get on a plane and go to Australia, John.
Yep.
Put another shrimp on the bobby.
Put another shrimp on the bobby. Get me some of those yobbies.
Give me a Foster's.
Give me that whiting. Give me some cod there.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Luke. We're butchering.
I'm not sorry. One bit, Luke. You can handle it.
We'll butcher your accent all we want.
If nothing else comes from Australia, humor comes from Australia. They can handle it.
Oh yeah, you can handle it all right. Anyway,
even if it's not
Luke's
that funny.
Yeah. Anyway, let's listen to Luke Chommings fill us in on some flooding, some beneficial flooding, and some work on the reservoirs. One in particular that sounds so fascinating. And then I just had to ask him a question about a fish. And I asked him, they use the term whiting for a fish in the ocean and also for one in freshwater. So I just had to know what that was. But anyway, let's just catch up with our good buddy and fellow lure designer, Luke Chommings. Luke. 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 Hey, Fish Nerd Nation, I'm so excited to have in Glasswater Studios this morning one of our favorite correspondents from clear down under on the other end of this fine world. Good morning, Luke Chommings. Morning to me, evening to you. We're together at
Yes,
last.
good. Yes. We've managed to traverse this the tyranny of distance once again. So good morning to you, and yes, it is evening here the day before. So if that's not confusing enough, I don't know what is. But
That's right, absolutely right. All right. So you got a hold of me, and you're like, man, let's talk some fishing. I guess there's been some flooding there, and you're catching some big ones. Let's start there. How about that?
okay, well, I haven't been lucky enough to been on the end of any big fish up the river. I only just managed to get myself a boat recently, but plenty of people have. And we had quite substantial flooding recently. And there's talk of more flooding coming. And I don't know if you see the news over there, but Australia is getting a lot of pretty crazy weather at the moment, with a lot of flooding on the eastern seaboard and up in Queensland. And that inevitably makes its way into the Murray-Darling Basin and into the Murray proper. So we are expecting another flood. How big, we don't know. But this last one was big enough, and most people's shacks in the low-lying areas won't get insurance anymore now. And it did have quite a devastating effect in some way. But as far as Mother Nature and the river itself goes, it's been a very welcome blessing, with plenty of good-sized Murray cod being caught. There has been reports. I haven't seen a photo, but they reckon there was one around the 6-foot mark was caught. So that's
Holy smokes! Whoa!
that's a bloody big cod. And I look, once again, tongue in cheek. Let's hope it's true. But there's been plenty of very big fish caught, and the photos to prove it. So yeah, flooding, as devastating it is a necessity for the Murray, and it is a necessity for most rivers, all rivers, I would say, flushing out the mouth and filling up the backwaters and the red gum forests and that, and they all get a drink. And it's just been really good fishing up there. But in the last 2 weeks, the water's murked up a bit now, so it's slowed up a bit. But when it's good, it's fantastic. It really is.
Well, it
But,
sounds fantastic. And for the listeners, the Murray-Darling Basin is the Murray River, the Darling River. Am I
Yeah.
correct? Okay.
Yes, they connect up at a place called Wentworth, which is out in the middle of nowhere, and then it turns into the Murray proper. And it's I can't remember. I don't know if it's in one of the top 10 biggest rivers in the world or something, but it's a bloody big river, and it's just fantastic. It's sort of, its headwaters start way up in the mountains there, and then ends up in the goes through the pretty much desert areas of South Australia, and then out to the Coorong National Park and all that, which is just another freak of nature place, which we're sort of blessed to have. It's got these huge cliffs all along it, and yeah, we're lucky that we're down the arse end of it, and we get the biggest cod in Australia down here, so we'll take that. We're happy with that. So it is a fantastic place. It's a lovely little segue to move on to my next little topic, which is I'm lucky enough to be hosting a expat Australian who's studying, a studying fellow, I would suggest, down in Florida, the very brilliant Sarah Hamlin, and she works down in Florida with the coastal science and coral reefs mainly and stuff like that. So she's over here visiting with her partner Adam, and he's at Red Hook Fishing Flies, I would think. And he makes a fairly decent fly, and I'm taking them up the Murray sight casting for huge carp with their fly rods. So that's happening next week. I'm a little bit excited about that. I'm not a fan of carp, but they get bloody big. And watching these two wrestle them into the boat on their fly rods is going to be worth the money, I reckon, worth the admission cost. So, yeah, looking forward to that.
I'm no fan of carp where they don't belong, but like you, they're here to stay. So we might as well do something with them, right? We might as well enjoy them for what they are. It's not their fault they're here. They got brought, and well, here or there. We've got several listeners that love to fish for them in any way, but especially fly fishing.
Yeah.
What's your strategy there?
We're going to wander into the backwaters, which have all been replenished by this flood. And we're going to pop the electric motor down, and we're going to go into a bit of stealth mode. And I'm going to watch them get tangled with each other as they cast their flies madly at any carp rising on the surface. Now, we have 150 billion ton biomass for some ridiculous number of them. So we don't have a shortage of them. They are an absolute disgrace to the river, but they're here and they are bloody good fun on fly and light gear, and they do entertain a lot of people, and they do provide a fair bit of protein for a lot of people too. So, it's not all gloom and doom, but, whatever. They make good food for the cod. Put it that way. So we're not happy to see them, but we'll sort of put a positive spin on it if we have to. So yeah, very much looking forward to sneaking around in these backwaters. And these people fish in Florida, big tarpon and this, that, and the other. So they're going to be expecting something a bit special. So we'll cruise around in the shallows in the backwaters and looking for some big monster carp and see how they go with their flies that they've brought all the way from America and their rods. So no promises in fishing, but we should be able to put them on something.
Well, that sounds awful fun. Nothing like popping down the electric motor and cruising around and sight fishing. Sight fishing is so fun. Have they done the carp thing before? Do they have their own strategies? Because
I would imagine they're pretty good at what they do. They catch some bloody big fish. I just popped onto Adam's Insta page just before the at Red Hook Fishing. I think that is correct. And there's some big fish in there, so he knows what he's doing. Anyone that can sight cast their bonefish, in the shallows, yeah, you know your shit, because they're a hard fish to catch, and I reckon they're one of the fastest fish, like one of the fastest runs you'll ever have. So and they catch a few of them, so they know their shit. It'll be all right, or I think it'll be quite. I'll learn something. Put it that way.
well, there you go. I've heard people refer to carp as the freshwater bonefish.
Yeah, I know they are very strong, very thick in the tail, and that pectorals and everything in their rear tail is very, very strong in the arse end of them. But if they don't get one over 10 pound or up around 20 pound, there's some big carp swimming around in these places. So everything grows big in the Murray. There's just one of them things. There's so much food and everything in there. So it's just a fantastic river. It always provides a spectacle, even when it's not providing fish. The cliffs and the forests and everything. It's pretty special place, especially when you see where it's lobbed right in the middle of a desert pretty much. There's absolutely nothing around it, and then you get this great big river right in the middle of it all, just snaking its way through. And yeah, it's fantastic.
Well, it sounds fantastic. It sounds absolutely fantastic. And if all my dreams come true, I will get to see it for real one of these times. Moving on, though, let's talk about. I've been looking at your Insta, and I've been following you for years now. And here lately, you've been awful busy with the resis, as you say, the reservoirs.
Yeah, the reservoirs.
Yeah, you're a hands-on conservationist and hands-on person that wants to improve things directly.
Yeah, you want to make a difference, got to be the difference, John. And conservation is probably. I like to think so. So I'll wear that term. But recently, I've been up to our most northern reservoir, which is out in our outback of South Australia, and this is way out in the desert. So about 700 k's from here or thereabouts. I don't know what that is in miles. A bloody long way, and it's hot, desolate country, but it's really magnificent cliffs and mountain ranges, and just the timelessness of the expanses out there. It's hard to get your head around just how big these places are. But right in the middle of it, there's a little town called Lee Creek, which has had a hard time in the last decade or so with the local mine was shut. Anyway, long story short, 22,000 people is now down to about 100. but they have this jewel in the crown 4 kilometres away, and it's called Aruna Dam. Now, we were very fortunate enough to have stocked that dam about 6 or 7 years ago when I was working with Recfish SA. So I thought, well, this year I might put some attention into this place. So we went up there recently between Christmas and New Year. Wow, what a place. I'm always lost for words, and I've been there a few times now. It just, in the afternoon with the sun on these 300-metre high cliffs and the crystal clear water and Murray cod with all them, brilliant markings because the water's so clear and the golden, everything's so colourful and bright, and is there a lot of value for putting effort into colouring up, if you know what I mean, like diverting energy into markings and stuff like that. So the fish look fantastic, and yellow-footed rock wallabies and the bird life and the death-defying, gravity-defying goats and wallabies on these sheer vertical drops is just, oh, what a place. And I was thinking to myself, this is nearly enough for overseas tourists to sort of jot it into their itinerary. I mean, it is a special place. It really is. So, yeah, we'll be spending a bit of time up there in the next few months, and hopefully getting them a jetty and a little pontoon and maybe some habitat for the water. And it's another world up there. It really is when they have inflow, like they have inflow from several creeks and about 1,000 little valleys that all run off these mountains, and just the inflow is like phenomenal when it happens. I mean, this is the driest state, driest continent on Earth, and they're way, way up in the desert there. But what a place. Oh, I just can't talk it up enough. So I'm very much looking forward to spending the next year or so going backwards and forwards up there, trying to get some money and trying to get some projects going, and getting some tourists foot traffic into that little town, and a bit of life back into the place. So yeah, that's what I'm up to for.
Excuse me to cut in, but I just agree on so many points here. When you have a prime blue space, as is the trending word that we use up here in the big USA, it has all kinds of benefits, and we keep these rock-headed people that just think nature's there to extract from, and that's the only way you can make any money, is ridiculous, because A, it's unsustainable, B, your mines, the vein runs out, and there should be a plan for after, and it's generally some sort of environmental or eco tour type thing. So I'm all for it. I think I would love to see tourists moving up in there and enjoying that fishing and enjoying all that stuff. I mean, to someone like me sitting around here who's used to just your ordinary skunks, raccoons, crow, our stuff. I love it. I love it. When you're a kid, you see all these cool Australian animals on TV, on the nature shows, and the idea that I could combine seeing some of those with a fishing trip is just I'm head over heels.
I mean, I describe it as a bird watchers, bushwalkers, photographers fishing paradise. It's not overly big. It's not like you could immerse yourself in the place for a month, but it is what it lacks in overall size. It's not big, but everything there is big. That's how I described it to someone the other day. I mean, the actual water area is not overly big enough for kayaks. You only allowed kayaks on there. But everything there is big. The cliffs, the this, the that, everything is just magnificent and huge and just timeless. When you're standing up there in the shadows of these big cliffs and the sun sort of rolls over and it changes colour, and then all of a sudden you just, I don't know, you feel something. There's something there, and it's just absolutely brilliant. And to be honest, if you're on a budget and you still wanted to travel around the world and come to Australia, you don't have to go to Surfers Paradise. You don't have to go to Kakadu and Daintree and all that. These places are dotted around the lower end of Australia, and they're cheap and affordable, and they're every bit as spectacular. You just got to open your eyes a little wider, and maybe believe less of the hype and just look a bit deeper into I'm sure rural America is the same. I mean, you don't have to go to Las Vegas to go to America and have a good time.
You share our mindset. In fact, you want to avoid those places. I have more for out in the country and out in the nature and seeing the real deal. I am fascinated by the fish species in Australia. I love seeing you catch fish with your lures. you make one that I am particularly fond of. It's a hard bait, a bill bait. Got a nice
Yep.
shad, what we would call probably here would call a shad profile. It's a
Yeah.
it's not a tubby, it's not a square bill type body. It's
Yeah, I know what
a
you're
narrow
saying.
body.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you call that one?
I think that the new ones they were called fussy ass for a while because I aimed at brim a little bit unsuccessfully. I think they caught a few on them here and there, but I've always mucked around with them. But yeah, it's just a slightly bigger version of a fussy ass. It's sort of probably a little bit small for any cod of any decent size. It has caught quite a few cod, don't get me wrong, that model, but they're all, that 300-400 size, sort of a foot long, so, little babies. But they've been a great lure. They do pump out a fairly decent profile underwater. Their action's a little bigger than you would think for such a small lure, and I think that's half the reason they go so well, because they do attract a fair bit of attention underwater, because for such a small lure, they do displace quite a bit of water. And so whatever, they go along all right. I'll sell plenty of them in the reservoir areas because, the fish ain't overly big there yet. They're getting bigger. We're not talking a metre plus fish or 3 and 4 foot fish at all. So, once we get to that, we'll upsize the lures locally in the area and fish with bigger lures and probably sell bigger lures, I hope.
Well, everybody likes to catch a big fish. Everybody likes to chase big fish every now and then. Some people like to only chase big fish, and that's all well and good. But you're talking to a panfish guy,
Yeah, I'm a bit the same, mate. To fill the time, you don't load up and go and chase the big cod when you've got an hour or two to spend on an arvo. A few redfin, or you might go and get some bluegills or some bloody what's them other things you catch? Crappie.
Up here in the U.S., we got crappie, baby.
Yeah,
And
crappie.
I
Yeah.
am the crappie hippie, and I'll tell you that is my number one fish. They're delicious. They're fun to
That's
catch.
it. You are too. That's right. I forgot that. The crappie hippie.
Yeah. No, that was the first fish I caught when I was a little 3-year-old kid, and it's stuck with me ever since. But yeah, we got the bluegill, all the sunfish family. Even although
Yeah.
smallmouth and largemouth bass are also sunfish,
Yeah.
are in that same family. They're of course bigger.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to ask one more fish question because we're running out of time. I see the warning popping up here on my screen. Whiting, freshwater whiting. What is that one?
Redfin.
That's redfin.
They give a good size fillet. And like I said, if you catch one, you're just as likely to catch 100. So if you're into filleting fish and you don't want to buy it from the market or whatever, or you're sick of buying overseas farm shit or whatever, they're a fantastic option. They really are, and I can't sell them enough. I really can't.
Well, they're an introduced fish, correct?
Yes, they were. Okay, so Yabby's starting eating out the irrigation channels, eating the walls of them out. So yabbies are like your crawfish. And so they, had this idea that they'll bring the reddies out and they'll eat all the yabbies and then it won't eat out the walls of the irrigation channel.
Ah, well,
the rest is history. So,
the rest is history. We won't.
I mean, the fact that the irrigation channels run straight into the Murray and the fish just all swam into the Murray. It was...
All right, Luke, we are very close to running out of time. I see the sun going down here in Australia. I can't see your hands. Okay, Clay, I got one more for you. One more story tonight.
One more. Let's go.
Well, you've gone to expos, fishing shows, things like that.
Lots of them. We used to hit them hard.
You used
Yeah.
to. You and Dave would sit there with your little Fish Nerds booth and talk to people, and
I miss those
hang out
days. I miss those
Yeah.
days.
hey, I miss those too.
It was a lot of fun, and it's just a matter of having time. My life just got in the way of the good stuff.
It tends to do that. And as far as like glasswater goes, it's not really a good move for us
Yet.
at this time, but it will definitely become part of our marketing hopefully soon, because my wife loves to travel around, loves to go places and do things. And for me to be tied up at expo or a sport show for hours and hours while she runs out and picks and makes new friends and travels around learning some
Sounds
secrets
perfect.
about where the picking is good. Yeah, she'd be perfect for her. So let's get with our good buddy, Tim Tacklebox Beat, who went to the Columbus Expo, and hear what he has to say about who he met and what he found out and what he looked at there. Let's all listen in while Tim Tacklebox Beat tells us about going to the expo. Well, welcome to the studio, my man. I've got Glasswater Studios tonight. None other than Tim Tacklebox Beat. And he just got back from the Columbus Fishing Expo there in Ohio where he lives. And he's got some expo history and a report on the expo. Tim, I'm just going to hand this over to you. You get going wherever or however you want to get going, and tell us all about the expo. Tell us a little bit about the history of expos, and we're going to get in kind of a deep dive here on what you saw at this particular expo. But take her away, my brother.
Yeah, John, I just love fishing expos. It's a way to go and see so much gear, whether it's boats, kayaks, lures, rods and reels, and everything. So I just love, I go to these things every year in Ohio. There are more than 170 outdoor shows every year in the United States. Sometimes they're called shows, sometimes they're called expos, and they bring together gear manufacturers with boat companies and anglers. And most shows are a place to buy equipment and gear, not just to see it, but you can go there and often get great sale prices. And it also shows allow you to easily compare gear. So you can look at a lot of things side by side, which you don't get the opportunity to do often, certainly not in a single store. Some of these outdoor shows focus on fishing, some on hunting, some are a combination. Some focus just on ice fishing or saltwater fishing. A lot depends on where you're located. There are quite a few shows that are just fly fishing shows too. Now, this is not a new thing. One of the earliest outdoor shows was the New York Sportsman Show. And I found a photo online from 1897 of a booth, an exhibit booth at the New York Sportsman Show. And the booth was promoting Maine hunting and fishing. And it wasn't from the fishing lodges. It was the Maine Central Railroad created the booth because they wanted to increase train traffic to Maine. And still, when you go to shows, that's one of the things you see are different fishing camps, guides, so you can talk to a lot of people about what they're catching, how much it is, what the accommodations are there. In Ohio, one of the oldest shows was from 1927 in Cleveland. It was the American and Canadian Sport, Travel, and Outdoor Show. That was one of the earliest ones in the United States. But if you really want to find what's close to you, you can easily find fishing expos by searching online. And one of the great places to start is the website Hunting, Fishing, and outdoorshows.com. And it lists shows by region. So you click on the Midwest or the West or the East, and you can find a show near you. Now, I just attended the Columbus, Ohio Fishing Expo. And actually, the guy, John, that runs this, runs one in Kansas as well, the Kansas Fishing Expo. More than 50,000 people showed up over 3 days. So this is a big deal. They had 3.5 acres of exhibits, full boats, great deals on a lot of gear. They have classes too, including demonstrations at the Hog Tank, one of my favorite things, which is an aquarium full of fish that's the size of an 18-wheeler trailer. As a matter of fact, it is. It has wheels on it so they can tow it out. And professional anglers give demonstrations casting into the tank using lures without hooks. So you can just geek out at around every corner here. But one of the things I really love to do is talk to lure designers and the small companies, see what's new, talk to other anglers. These places are just a ball. You can hang out all day and 8 hours will go by very quickly.
Not if you were with me, because I just walk around going, Hog Tank! Everything we would do, we just like, you want to get a hot dog? Hog Tank, dude. I love that. I love that, man. I haven't been to one since I was a kid, and it's pretty exciting. So 3.5 acres of exhibits, over 100 vendors and exhibitors. Let's focus in. Let's draw this in a little bit because we don't have time to go over all that. And I know 8 hours, you probably have a wealth of information that you could share with us, but let's focus a little bit. Where do you want to go with this a little bit? Talk to me about these Japanese baits that you were texting me about.
Yeah, I saw a couple trends here, and I go to these every year, so you get to kind of see where the industry is going. So the first trend I saw, and this is really too new, but it was the JDM imports. JDM stands for Japan Domestic Market. So these are products designed for anglers in Japan. They're now being imported into the United States. So a lot of the packaging, it might have English on it, but it might have a lot of Japanese on it. So I don't really know the names of all of these baits. But there's a lot of innovation in Japan because their waters are so pressured. There's so many people fishing. It's a small country, and pressured water means fish that are very wary. So they're always looking for how do I change things up? And they're really about finesse gear because of that. So you think about the most pressured place you fish. So there's a lot of innovation that comes out. I would say even more than in the United States. And now that they're starting to target the United States, it's just a great thing for anglers because there's a lot of stuff out there. So I talked with one Japanese importer, and he was selling a lot of these large swim baits like they sell in the US. People had ordered them ahead of time and were coming to pick them up. And what was funny is he was kind of new to the US market, and he told me a lot of his baits were too small for the United States. So this really intrigued me. I thought, what is the guy going to show me, like a 1/500th ounce jig or something? What is too small for the United States? And what he showed me, John, was a 3/16 ounce lure. And I was like, dude, that is not small at all. Just go over to the trout magnet booth and look at the 1/64th, or they have a 1/200th ounce one. So what he was hearing were from the bass anglers, what they wanted were these big baits, the big swim baits. That's certainly something that's hot now. But he didn't even realize that his lures were not too small for this market. And I asked him, he had some cool stuff. I asked him if he wanted to be mentioned on the podcast, and he said no, because his main gig is really wholesaling, not retailing. He even shut down his website while he was here. I'd never heard of anybody doing that.
A lot of questions. There are a lot of questions. If
Yeah.
I went to the time and trouble to come from Japan to come here, I'm not throwing shade on this person, but I would be a little more prepared because, first of all, even though you want to wholesale, you could at least target and prop the retailers that are buying from you. So instead of saying, "Oh, I don't want to be mentioned on the podcast," you just said, "Well, I want Yo-Yo Tackle and Bill's Outdoors and whoever else is carrying my baits." These are places where you can get them. That's something I would.
Yeah, John, the funny thing is he lives in the United States, but I think his expertise is in importing, and he's trying to figure out this. But he's onto something because he had baits in there. So one of the baits I bought from him in his booth, there's a lot of interesting stuff. It's the Fish Arrow brand. So it's a plastic minnow. Well, you've seen a lot of those, but they take a piece of foil flash and it's inserted into it. So the foil flash is in the belly of this minnow. Looks super cool. But the other thing is, when a fish bites it, it actually crunches. The foil kind of crunches in there. I can't wait to fish this thing. So he had a lot of stuff that I looked at and thought, wow, there's a lot of cool innovation here. So I was filling up my bag as I went along. The prices are so good on some of these. They want to get you to try these baits. So then you go back the next year and you're filling up your tackle box with them. And the competition is so stiff because you can go to the next booth and see, hey, where are the swim baits? They're $15 here and they're $40 in the next booth, and go back and forth and look at them and purchase them. So it's great for that.
Speaking of Japanese companies, you really focused in on this company called Nico. Talk to me about them.
Yeah, so I had a great chat with Scott Barrett from Nico. So Scott has an amazing story. He's the designer of the Nico Helgramite. And I don't know if you've ever fished with that, John. It's one of the most popular smallmouth baits. It just slays the smallmouth. And Scott told me, I didn't know, I'm talking to him, and I said, what's your role? He said, well, I designed all these baits. So I thought, well, I got to ask these guys some questions. So Scott lived in Japan for about 20 years, wasn't working in the fishing industry, but he met Nico at a trade show. And Nico's a bigger company. The trade show had nothing to do with fishing. But then he learned about their fishing line of business, and they made a lot of baits just for the Japanese market. So then he moved back to the United States, and he brought some of the baits with him. But the problem was the baits didn't look like what we fish with in the United States. They had no English packaging, no literature. So it was kind of tough. So Scott told him, he said, let me design something that is with your materials just for the U.S. market. And he designed the Helgramite. They had other baits, but they were like saltwater baits, shrimp and things like that. So Scott creates the Helgramate for the U.S. market, and he designed some other baits too. And I don't know if you know this, John, but Nico baits, they use an elastomer similar to Z-Man's
Yes.
Elastec. They were one of the first to use it. They had been using it in Japan, but to bring it over here, and there are many types of elastomers out there. Nico's, what Scott told me is he said it's one of the purest ones. It's a higher quality. It floats. It's super durable, like Z-Man is. They last a long time. And Scott said the most fish he's caught on one single Helgramite was 200.
Wow.
Without wearing it out, and they only lost it because the bait came off. At some point he snagged it or something.
Right.
So I was just pumped about that, and to see some of the other baits they had there.
Well, anytime you're talking elastomer baits, I'm going to perk up my ears and pay attention, because you know how I feel about them. I know how you feel about them, and just the durability. It just makes fishing better all the way around. We had the old Lure Love podcast. You remember those days, don't you?
I remember them, yeah.
I hope so. Otherwise, we got to call somebody. But we talked about different things that Z-Man made for saltwater, like crabs and such, that we thought would translate really well to fresh. And you were cleaning out some stuff the other day, and you sent me some crazy squid lures, and I went ahead and sent them on to Rosie so she could have fun fishing those. But did you see any saltwater baits that you thought might translate to the freshwater market?
Yeah, so this is the amazing thing, John, and it was Nico again. There's a lot of saltwater baits that I think, if they're small enough, are just killer for freshwater in the U.S. And so I brought from Nico a package of 2.5-inch octopus baits. Well, yeah, I guess, or octopi baits. I'm not sure how that works, but
I think it's octopuses. I don't know. The debate goes on. Anyway, octopus looking things. Okay, all right.
So, John, these are 2.5-inch octopus baits. The head is only 1/2 inch. So you have 2 inches of tentacles, and there are 8 tentacles. And because it's made of an elastomer, these things won't pull off. And Scott told me smallies just crush these. The action on these, when it's on the bottom, you got these 8 tentacles flowing up. It's almost like a plastic skirt. And so I cannot wait to fish these. I also picked up some 2-inch shrimp. So these are baits that most fish around here, I fish pressured waters. Most fish haven't seen these, but I tell you what, these octopus baits are just killer.
Wow, I'm stoked. I can't wait. I can't wait to see the pictures. Yeah, because there is something about the waving action, especially for smallies. I mean, I think that's the basis why Z-Man took and made the Tickler Z. And there's so many crawdads where they just go bananas trying to make sure those claws float and move around. You got it. Smallies really like come in slow, watching something, and if there's any kind of appendages up there going, no, don't eat me, that just turns that smallie on. Crawdad's like, all right, you want to fight? And Smallie's like, sure, suck. That was easy. Yeah, so I bet you're going to have some success. I can't wait. This is pretty fun. So what else? What else did you see? You see any wacky stuff?
Well, the craziest thing I saw from Japan was a hard bait. And it was in the shape of a hammerhead shark. Now, John, I have to tell you, I want to see that in the mouth of a bass. It would be like seeing orca eating a hammerhead. So it's one of those things. I don't know whether it would catch anything, but I just thought this was the funniest thing ever. So you may see me fishing a hammerhead hard bait at some point.
Well, I tell you, that's awful fun. All right. There's a couple of things here in your notes. Talk to me about some of the other cool things you saw.
Well, one of the things I love about these shows is it's not just fishing stuff. You always get a smattering of other booths. So I chatted with Todd Timler, who's an artist. He works in steel, and he creates the most incredible fish sculptures. He had a tuna sculpture and a barracuda sculpture in his booth. Beautiful work. The barracuda was 5 feet long. Just gorgeous, was $500, which seemed actually like a pretty good price for the amount of work he must have put into that. He sculpts other animals too he's done giraffes for zoos and things like that. I also chatted with the Ohio State University Bass Club. So these guys compete in collegiate bass tournaments, and they were selling shirts that they wear during the tournaments. And so I bought one to support the team as a fundraiser, because they have to have their own boats and everything. The bass fishing team, that's something a lot of colleges have. Kansas State has a fishing team, John. So you can go and check out their merch. I know they've won 3 national championships. So that was kind of fun to talk to these young guys. I also talked with the good people from the Native Fish Coalition. This is a great group. It's pretty new, since just founded in 2017. They're a nonpartisan, apolitical, grassroots, donor-funded, volunteer nonprofit, and they're dedicated to conservation, preservation, and the restoration of wild native fish. And there are chapters in about every state. They know that it's kind of an impossible goal, but I think last year in Ohio, they were able to re-enter 3 different species that hadn't been here before. So it just very cool to talk to them. You know, most of these shows, your local DNR is going to be there, so you can chat with the officers there and find out what's going on in your state. And then there's the food, John. There was this there was an incredible booth, including a full bar there that that was open at noon. They incredible booth that sold pickled everything. There was another dried meat booth. And so here's just a tip. After you've eaten a dozen samples, they start to give you the hairy eyeball, John. So I would recommend you go to one of these, you bring a disguise, a different hat, so you can maximize the free food samples, because there was a lot of pickles there to taste.
Yeah, little mustache, some glasses, you just walk off, change your shirt, put on the glasses, come on back. Yeah, it sounds fantastic. And I'll tell you what, here's something exciting for you, young man. We are going to have Bob Mallard from the Native Fish Coalition on the show. At least we're working toward that. Todd Correa and myself. So we are excited. Bob has written a book, and he is the guy in charge, and he's going to come on and tell us a lot about Native Fish Coalition. So, well, listen, it sounds awful fun, and it sounds like you had a great time, and I'm always interested in the history of how these things get started and so on, and what's been going on in the sport. So thank you very much for coming in tonight, Mr. Tim Beat. Always a pleasure to see you in Glasswater Studios, and we'll look forward to hearing from you again and doing some more stories soon.
And I got to go test some of these baits I bought. I got a bag full of them, so I'm off.
Woohoo! Have fun, and I'll be watching your for your texts and so on. And yeah, test them out. Tell me, and we'll talk about this again sometime probably. All right, see you later, my brother.
Thanks, John.
I tell you, there ain't enough lures in the world for that man.
No, you can't fill him up.
You can't.
Bottomless lure pit.
I don't know why that hit me so funny.
So weird. Ain't that funny?
I think I'm gonna have a T-shirt made for him.
You should. You should. But man, that Tim Beat loves his lures. So
he does indeed, and he loves talking to people about them, and it's just he's just a super
well, we're glad he's
nerdy guy.
Yeah, we like those fellow fish nerds, John.
We do love them.
Yeah.
Well, I think these people have listened to us talk about fish.
Before you wrap it up,
okay.
I'm gonna have so after we wrap the show up, there's gonna be a bonus segment on this week's show. Because last week we did our annual Valentine's special. And back in 2020, we did a Valentine's special with a couple of guests. One of the guests was Kate Wallinga, who hosts the Ignorance is Bliss podcast. And she was incredibly funny, charming, hilarious on that episode. You can listen to the whole episode if you want to. But she died last week, John. And
I saw that.
Yeah, and just broke my heart. She's been sick for a long time. And she would always go in the hospital, and she'd go on Facebook and ask people to send her selfies to cheer her up. So we'd always do that to her. And she thought she'd be fine. She went in and died. And so everyone's heartbroken about it. So after we closed the show, after the closing credits, we did the famous fish quiz where we had Kate and the other guests trying to guess whether I was talking about a fishing lure or an adult toy. So that's, if you're a young person listening to the podcast, that segment is not for you.
That is off limits.
But it's one of the funniest segments we've ever done. It's so good. And so as a tribute to Kate, we're going to play that at the end of this show. So and our hearts are broken for her, and hope her family is healing as best they can. It's so fresh and raw right now. But if you can't laugh with your old friends after they die, you're missing out, because that's the joy of it.
It is the joy of it. And I tell you, I never had the pleasure, except for this segment that you did with her. And I'm feeling it right here. I really am feeling it, because she funny, like I say, you've already done all the superlatives, but I will say that this is a very fitting tribute to Kate. I know she's looking down and laughing and smiling, and so glad that you were a positive influence in her life and vice versa. So don't run off. Send the kids off and then listen to this.
Definitely
this tribute.
And by the way, if your kids listen to it, don't answer any of their questions. They don't deserve the answers because you're not ready to give them because you might not know them all either. So. All right, John, close the show down. Let's go.
All right. You've listened to a couple of fish nerds when you should have been fishing. We'd like to thank Wally Pleasant for our theme music, Diana's Bath Salts for the music for Fish in the News, our good friend and correspondent, Tim Tacklebox Beat, our other wonderful correspondent, our international correspondent from South Australia, Luke Chommings. I want to thank the person who blew the whistle on Bobby Parkhurst, that cheating guy thing person.
This is John trying not to cuss. That cheating, no good.
Yeah, exactly it. We've got enough adult stuff on here already.
It's coming.
All right. But most of all, we want to thank you, our listeners, for bringing your ears right on in here and letting us fill them up with fish stuff. And thank you so much to our Patreon subscribers as well, because a few dollars in the till helps us keep this thing going. Did I get it covered, Clay?
I think you covered it all, John. So until next time, follow the code of the fish nerds.
Spawn early and often.
Never trust a free lunch with strings attached, and
swim against the current every chance you get.
You did it, John. You did it.
Whether you're fly fishing in a stream, getting those ankles wet, or deep in the ocean, casting nets, fish nerds. Fish nerds. Fish nerds. It's a podcast. Just for the halibut. Fried in a basket or broiled in a pan. Eat it raw like you're in Siam. Fish nerds. Fish nerds. Fish nerds. It's a podcast.
All right, John, let's get on with that tribute to Kate Wallinga here. And again, no kids listening from this point forward. This is just for the grown-ups, and laugh, enjoy, and then hug your family and friends close afterwards. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Clay. We'll see you soon.
Perfect, John. I'm going to bail on this. I got a lot to do, and I will get this mixed and out tomorrow.
You are the king. All
Thank
right.
you, John.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Everyone, it seems, wants to get more fish in the world. It's up to you and me, girl. Come on. There's only one way we're gonna get more fish in this world. It's up to you and me, girl. Let's spawn.
Hello and welcome to the Fish Nerds, the show about fish, fishing, and eating fish. The show that's always interesting, usually funny, and mostly true. I'm Clay Groves, Chief Executive Fish Nerd, Licensed Fishing Guide, your best friend. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy that you are listening. Today on the podcast, we are doing our annual Valentine's special, hence the fancy, sexy music at the intro. And we are so happy that we have two very special, beautiful guests. Tawny Plattis, who is the founder of Tawny Voice, which is an audio production company. She was one half of the Dirty Bits podcast, which I was a huge fan of, with her late husband, George. After he passed away, she turned the Dirty Bits into Death is Hilarious, a sarcastically named podcast feed that utilizes humor to explore and cope with loss and grief, which is so complicated. And we have Kate Wallinga, who is do I say it right? Kate what?
Sure, yeah.
It's your name. It matters.
It's my husband's name. I mean.
We have Kate, who is a forensic psychologist and crisis clinician turned podcaster. She is the host and producer of English Was Bliss, a podcast where she collects stories to try and figure out how we become who we are. She also co-hosts Life World about crimes involving the internet with Derek Graziano. We will do the news today, and we will talk all about fish love. So it's a good day to be on the pod. Ladies, welcome to the Fish Nerds podcast.
Hi. Thank you.
Yeah, so I was telling you off air that I'm fans of both of your shows, And I posted up on one of the podcast groups, I need 2 women to come on the show and talk about fish sex. And you both were like, oh, me. And I was like, it's a perfect pair. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun today. So we're gonna jump right into the content because I don't like to wait around. And so we're gonna start off with the famous fish quiz. And this should warm you up into understanding what's going to happen on the rest of today's show. Have you heard of the famous fish quiz?
I have listened. I'm terrified.
Oh, good. And Connie, have you ever heard of the famous fish quiz?
I'm not familiar with the fish quiz.
Well, so what I do, fishing is such a complicated sport with thousands and thousands of, and it's barely a sport, by the way. I don't really defend that statement. With thousands and thousands of terms, and they're all kind of odd. And so what I've done today is I made a little quiz for the 2 of you, and we're going to have a little contest. And do you see the hat I'm wearing right now?
Can't miss it.
Yeah, it's a hot pink Fish Nerds beanie. It's lined with the belly fur of a fur-bearing trout to keep you extra warm in the wintertime. And we're actually going to play a game, and one of you is going to win my hat. Yeah, that's going to be a good game. And here
Tawny,
is the
you're
game.
going
Now
down.
it's getting competitive.
I know.
You're going down.
I got to find a pen so I can keep score. So here's how the game's going to go down. I'm going to read you each. We're going to go back and forth. I'm going to read you each 3 words. 2 of them are very common flies for fly fishing. The other one is a sex toy. You have to decide which is which. Or you have to pick out the sex toy.
Okay.
Bonus points if you know what the toy is.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to like paper out for keeping score. We got Tawny.
Do we buzz in?
No, we're gonna go back and forth. We got Tawny versus Kate. The trick is who goes first. If one of you guys have a preference, or should I just pick?
You can, Tawny, you do you. Yeah.
Okay. Let's do it. Let me take it away.
All right, Tawny's gonna be first. All right, you ready, Tawny?
I'm ready.
So remember, 2 of these are flies. The other one is a sex toy. You tell me the sex toy, and you get a bonus point if you know what the sex toy is.
Sounds good.
All right. So prairie dog, rabbit, or bunny leech?
Rabbit is the sex toy.
You knew off the bat. By the way,
oh yeah, I'm gonna murder you, Kate.
By the way, I meant to do a disclaimer at the beginning. Before we get too far in, the Fish Nerds is not a children's show, although normally it is family friendly. This show is not. So if you made it this far and your kids are listening, turn it off. And very specifically to my kid, Zoe, my 12-year-old, turn this off right now. You are not allowed to listen to this. And if you do, you are not allowed to ask me any questions later.
So with that being said, let me explain what the sex toy is, right?
Oh, please. Oh, God.
The rabbit is a vibrator.
Yes. And what about it makes it the rabbit?
It has little ears.
Thank you. I'm not going to ask you what the ears are for, although
everything.
I know.
Oh, I know. It's such a bummer. We don't have the visuals. I did a little with my fingers.
Yeah, I can't tell you how much time I spent Googling things today, and what a rabbit hole I got.
As it were. I see what you did there.
Right. So right off the bat, Tawny with 2 points here on the first thing. Are you ready, Kate?
I doubt it. Go for it.
We have the booby nymph, the Kaufman stimulator, or the Orlina stimulator.
Oh, should I think it's the Kaufman stimulator?
No, the Kaufman stimulator is a fly.
Oh, okay.
And,
I am appalled.
So, yeah, sorry about that. The Orlina stimulator, which is just a very small, soft vibrator. So
I knew one of them was, but I don't know brand names. Like,
I know.
I shop generic, man.
I get all my vibrators at Walmart. Again, Zoe, daughter of mine, turn this off right now. Stop listening. All right. She's probably still listening. All right. Number 3. This is for Tawny. We have the Philo Plume Dragon, the Love Honey, or the Rainbow Warrior.
I think the dragon is a sex toy.
The dragon is not a sex toy.
Oh, no?
Yeah, no, it is the Love Honey, which actually is a brand of sex toys.
It's not really a sex toy. It's a brand of sex toys.
it
The thing
is
is,
indeed.
Tawny and I go to Walmart together to buy our sex toys.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. Tony, you're still ahead 2-0 here. Kate, moving on. This is going to be a fun one. We have the Hydromax, the Grizzly Klinkhammer, or the Fritz Bugger. The Hydromax, the Grizzly Klinkhammer, or the Fritz Bugger.
I think it's the Fritz Bugger.
No, it is not the Fritz Bugger. That is a very common fly. It's the Hydromax. Hydromax. And if you know what the Hydromax is, I'll give you a point anyway.
Well, no. I mean, no. Obviously, I don't.
Well, so I thought maybe the name would cue. It's a
No, I was going to say it's like a bidet.
Well, no.
Oh my God, Freud just called there. That was a true crime slip of the tongue.
Yeah,
anyway.
the Hydromax is a penis pump. Yeah, which I wouldn't know what to do with. All right, so next, I'm so uncomfortable. I barely know you guys, and we're having. It's good to see we're warming up.
Oh, I feel like I'm just getting such an education. I'm fascinated.
It's fun. All right, Tawny.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. We have the Mrs. Simpson, the Lilo Hugo, or the Copper John. Mrs. Simpson, Lilo Hugo, or Copper John.
Lilo Hugo?
It is the Lilo Hugo. Bonus, what is it?
Mm-hmm. Let's see. The Lilo Hugo. Is that a strap-on?
You're in the right area, but I'm not going to give you the points for it. It is a radio-controlled prostate stimulator.
That's what it was. See, that wouldn't have been something that I would have been like picking out. That's something I've seen advertised.
You live an interesting life.
Yeah, her Wish ads are amazing.
I live in Southern California. It was unavoidable.
It is. This is something I learned about that today, in fact. So I didn't know. I didn't know that was a thing. And there's a lot of videos online that you should not watch.
No.
It's upsetting. Okay.
It's upsetting.
It's upsetting. I don't know what to do. All right. I can't tell you how uncomfortable I am because I don't know you. I'm just dropping all this on you. All right, Kate.
All right, Clay, talk dirty to me. Go.
Let me put on my best voice here. All right, Kate. How about Dave's Hopper, Peter Piper, or the Humpy? Dave's Hopper, Peter Piper, or the
names.
Humpy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yes. I don't have any idea at all on this. So I'm gonna go with Peter Piper.
You are correct. Peter Piper for a point. Kate, finally on the board. And
finally.
Have you been married a long time? I think you would know more of these.
You'd think, 20 years is not quite long enough, but I'm telling you, generic brand for one, and for another, I mean, when you start having kids as a baby, then you just, the labels wear off.
Right.
Okay.
I'm so glad we're doing this. So bonus point. What is the Peter Piper?
I don't know. Is it a version of the accommodator?
What is the accommodator?
You don't know.
No, I am not an expert. This is not my field. I'm a fish person.
Please do not use a fish as an accommodator, please.
No.
Oh, please, Kate, tell me what an accommodator is. I need to know.
It is a way of anally pleasuring the man either during oral sex, or just like as a way to get to know him better.
Well, that's how you know a person? I've just met you. Then this whole okay. No, it is not. The Peter Piper is actually a glass blown,
as it were,
dildo that is actually a pipe for smoking marijuana. Their logo is "Smoke it, then poke it." It's a real thing. Smoke it, then poke it.
Okay. I'm so glad I got that wrong. I have no.
I'm disappointed, Kate. I thought for sure.
I am not.
I thought so too.
All right. So we're halfway done the game. How are you feeling about it so far?
This is a blast, and I'm getting such an education. I'm like, a few of these I didn't know, and I didn't know that a fly, that was the question I did have for you, was why would you call a fly a stimulator? If one of those flies...
Yeah, so a stimulator is a fly that stimulates a fish to eat. It excites them.
Oh, I see.
And,
okay.
yeah, so you throw it in the water, and you'll a lot of times a fish will chase that fly, but won't eat it. But then once they see it, they get, oh, maybe I'm hungry. And then you put on a fly that closes the deal.
Okay. It does make sense.
Yeah. So you might start with the Kaufman stimulator, and you may end with the prairie dog, or the rainbow, or the Philip Plume dragon, or the grizzly clinkhammer.
You know me quite well already. Yes.
You know. Oh, baby. if one thing I know is how to talk flies to a lady. All right. So whose turn is it? I lost track. Is it Tawny?
Yeah.
Because we were at Peter Piper,
I just had
right?
the Peter Piper.
Right.
All right. So here we go. We have Orange Death, the Squildo, or the Hamel's Killer.
The Squildo.
The Squildo. All right, Tawny. What is it?
Okay. If I'm wrong about what I think it is, it's going to look real bad for me.
I am listening.
I don't have this. I think the Squildo, is it not unlike those fantasy dildos that are made out of, it's like a, what would you say?
I don't know.
Like a rubbery jelly material. It's like a dildo. It's another dildo. Is it like a dildo that maybe the character from Guillermo del Toro's film would have? The Shape of Water. You know, the character from The Shape of Water that kind of looks like a fish.
Just keep talking.
It's a dildo
I love this
that
so
would be similar to his penis. I saw an advertisement for this on Amazon, and I was intrigued.
I told you wish, right?
I am so afraid of my Amazon ads coming up here in a little bit. The Squildo is a dildo that is like a rocket shaped on one end, like the top of a squid, and then the bottom end actually has tentacles.
See, I was on the right track.
It looks like a squid. So you're on the right track. I'm not gonna give it to you though because, well, like if Kate said that, I would give it to her.
It was not specific to the character.
Good, because he feels bad for Kate.
Right.
You know, Kate.
That was pretty damn close.
It was pretty damn close. Kate, I can accept losing this particular game. I'm still like scribbling furiously over here. So
she's making notes. Google
I'm a little
this later.
disappointed I'm not doing better.
I am. You know, I'm gonna drink my drink. This is delicious. Okay.
I've only gotten like 2 right.
You got 4 points though. So to Kate's 1. That's a score so far. All right, Kate, you're up. You ready?
Sure.
All right. We have the Adams Irresistible, the Marabou Muddler, or the Jimmy Jane.
The Jimmy Jane.
It is the Jimmy Jane.
It is?
Yeah. and you were so short, Tawny. You were like, no. It's the Marabou Muddler.
I thought it was Adams.
Jimmy Jane. So bonus point, Kate, what is it?
It's like a strap-on?
No, it's not like a strap-on. It is just like a soft vibrator, almost like an egg vibrator, but with like softer edges.
Like a pocket pussy. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I don't know. He says in visual quotes.
I do not know. I have to Google that one, and I'm afraid to. All right. I Googled so many things today. Okay. Tawny. This is so awkward. All right. I thought I'd be more comfortable with this by now.
I think it's fun. I'm sorry that you're not more comfortable.
Oh, it's totally fun. I feel like I'm blushing all over. All right. Tawny. Here we go. We have the Epoxy Buzzer, the PTN Hotspot, or the Pro Touch.
The Pro Touch is the sex toy.
It is the sex toy. I thought for sure you'd go for the buzzer.
No.
And what is it?
I think the Pro Toy is the vibrator that is controlled with your with music. You can control the vibrations with music.
The Pro Touch is a musically controlled vibrator.
Yes.
It is not. It is a butt plug.
Oh, there you go.
It might be musically controlled. I don't know. I didn't read that far into it. I was
Didn't do that deep of a dive.
no, I did not
As
dive
it
deep
were.
there into the abyss.
I was gonna assume all the way to the hilt, but whatever. Like,
Yeah. I didn't go all the way to the knuckles on that when I was trying to keep it shut. Oh, I hate this game. All right, Kate. I wrote
like-
The man who invented the game.
I wrote it and I hate it. All right, Kate.
Real Frankenstein moment for you.
That's half my life. I think the Fish Nerds podcast does that for me sometimes too. Like sometimes I wonder, why do I do this? Kate, are you ready?
I am ready for you. Yes.
All right, thank you, Kate. I'm so glad you're ready for me. I am ready for you. All right, I'm going to give you the iconic bullet, the beaded woolly bugger, or the red-eyed damsel. Mm-hmm.
I gotta go. The bullet.
Let's see, iconic bullet, beaded woolly bugger, or red-eyed damsel.
Yeah, the iconic bullet.
The bullet is correct, and what is it?
A fairly compact vibrator. Yes.
Yeah, and they call them what kind of vibrators?
I'm sorry.
They call
What
them-
kind?
What kind of vibrator? Yeah,
Oh,
it's in the name. It's in the name.
It's iconic.
No, go to the other side.
What?
This bullet.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I thought that. Okay, that was sort of understood. I was going the next step. I didn't realize I was going back to the name of the thing. It is a bullet vibrator.
I give you the point for that. All right, so now the game's getting close, Tawny. I hope you can handle it.
I hope you're breathing heavy at least.
I am. Tawny, you are at 5 and Kate's at 4. Two questions left. All right, and so here are the questions. Here's number 11 for Tawny. Cat's whisker, Malibu minx, parachute hopper.
It's the cat whisker.
It is not the cat whisker.
No!
Yeah, the cat whisker is a fly. Is the Malibu minx. Malibu minx, and it's just a small vibrator. It's not that exciting. I mean, it might be exciting.
not.
I don't know. I've not touched it.
That's why we've never heard of it.
Define exciting.
I'm sure. Well, no, I will not. But I'm sure some people enjoy it. It is mass manufactured, so. All right, Kate, you could take it right here.
I really could.
If you can name the sex toy and what it is, that would give you 2 points, and that would give you the win. If you can only name the sex toy, you tie, and I have to find a second hat to mail to somebody else. So a tie results in you both get Fish Nerds hats. Okay?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
A lot of pressure. The red-eyed damsel, the atomic worm, or the Zalo queen. Red-eyed damsel, atomic
I
worm,
pictured all of those at once.
Zalo queen.
Wow.
I'll take them all,
H.P.
please.
Lovecraft called. Shit. I don't know. I think I have to go with the worm.
The atomic worm?
Yeah.
No, the atomic worm is a green
God.
piece of string tied to a hook.
I'm just really glad that I'm wrong on that one, actually. But
Yeah.
yeah.
The Zalo queen, and it's a very large vibrator, as one might imagine. So the winner is Tawny.
Yay!
Congratulations! You get to win the hat that I am wearing right now. Hot
I
pink.
can't wait to get it.
You're gonna love it. It's super warm and perfect for Southern California.